5,
So
4,
you're gonna see we're gonna be
3,
running along
2,
here to avoid
1.
this shredder bot. You can just follow your tank, but you can see it's just kind of a route here through the middle. Give him time to get aggro. He's got defensives to keep himself alive, and just kind of follow him up here. I'm gonna target a surveyor so I can be ready to interrupt it whenever it happens, and then go ahead and start. Sorry, this is a lust pull. Like many, you can see the spikes going out. You can also see our shadow priest just chilling there on top of the boxes. I'll explain why after the pull. If I was more confident in Resto Druid, I would probably be cat weaving during this, but it's just something I'm not going to be worrying about. So I want to explain how Chiron got up here and what the value in that is. If you're arranged, the way that you get up there is by, Chiron's going to demonstrate it right now. You just can kind of jump your way up there, and you have to get onto the top box. And the reason for that is that the chainsaws do have a Z-axis avoiding them. So he was able to just stand there and deliver damage the entire time. So if you're a caster, it's really nice to sit up there. If you're not certain on that, jumping up, you can also jump up via this as well, is another way to jump up, which I'm not the greatest at this, so we'll see if I can get it. But basically, if you're a caster, standing up there is nice. If you can learn it, you can go into like a Mythic 0 or just like a normal dungeon and figure it out. So this next pull, that is, again, it's a relative center pull. If you're not super confident, you can take this pull in two pulls, and it's much easier. However, you would like to move into making this a single pull as you get more comfortable. One thing, whenever you're jumping down, you want to make sure you avoid these bomb crabs unless the tank wants to pull them, as they do explode and do a big AoE dot whenever that happens. But basically for this pull, we're going to be trying to pull these surveyors here into this architect over here that's on the scaffolding. The surveyors are the ones who do the flame breath, something that we dealt with previously, and we're also going to have our Death Knight grip in this surveyor over there. That can also be moved in by any kind of ranged interrupt, so it's not necessarily has to be done by a Death Knight. The only thing that's different in this pull is that we do have the first of the contractors, which are affectionately called Fortnite mobs. And the reason for that is they start on scaffolding, and then every so often they're going to build scaffolding up, which makes them take 90% less damage and unable to be targeted by melee attacks. And so basically you just have to kill the scaffolding. They're a good focus target. The surveyors, again, have to be interrupted. Generally speaking, if your healer doesn't interrupt, I think this surveyor is a great interrupt for the healer, as the tank is going to get aggro and then run over here, and the healer can kind of lock this down or interrupt it so it can come in. Then we're going to grip in more mobs. This, again, just has spinning people in it that have to be stunned, and that's pretty much it. Another thing is that there's these venture company divers. They are a patrol, and they're going to be roaming back and forth here, so you want to be not standing too close over here or you'll aggro them if the tank is not intending to bring them in. But we'll go ahead and do the pull whenever you're ready, Kudo. So he is pulling some bomb crabs in. You'll see him get the surveyors. So here we have the first affix. Interrupt that in. So we're going to see we got it mass dispelled out. There's also hyenas in this pull. The hyenas are not super problematic. They can be de-enraged. They can also be interrupted, but it's very much not a priority. I will go ahead and soothe one to de-enrage it, but again, it is only if you have a free GCB. It's not something that's super high priority. There's also, from the surveyors, just random damage going out. They're going to be throwing packages at people. It's just something that has to be healed through. There's the bomb crab going off. You can see the dot that's on everyone. There's 2 stacks of them. So you really don't want to stack too many of those or it can become a healing challenge. So this gives us the second weapon stockpile that needs to be destroyed. So again, the intended route of this dungeon, as you can see even from my weak aura, is that Big Mama is the first boss pulled. We go up there, then we take the path over here. For lust timing, we generally don't want to do that because, again, Big Mama requires the lust better. While I'm stopping to explain, we're not going to necessarily see the lust as commonly. So we're going to pull these now. Go ahead and do the normal pull, Kudo. So the thing about the divers is that they actually are they plant the bombs, and they have a cast which has a harpoon, which does a bleed on people. But the cast that happens is very easy to interrupt, as it's just they're very staggered in the way that they cast. Only one of them is going to be casting at any time, so it's just a simple interrupt rotation while you to interrupt that. You're also noticing that the architects are occasionally rooting people. As a druid, I can just shapeshift out of it. It is a bleed. You can also dispel it. but by shapeshifting out of it, it does actually remove the bleed. Again, just another architect in this one, have to kill the scaffolding before you can heal him. And other than that, pretty standard, just don't run into the bombs. They actually have a wider AoE than it looks like, just like respect them. Chiron has Mind Soothe these ads. However, the Mind Soothe is not needed, it just makes it easier. You can just kind of walk up the left side here. Here we just have 2 Shredder bots and a Surveyor. They're going to be pulled, as well as probably this Surveyor over here. They're going to be pulled into this pull. Just deal with them the exact same way we've dealt them in the past. Don't stand in the flamethrower, move out of the chains, and interrupt the Surveyors. As a healer, I just generally like to keep a caster targeted. There are focus macros you can use as a DPS. However, as a healer, as long as I'm doing damage, it's kind of fine, making sure I have my interrupt ready. Here's the affix going out. I'm going to dispel myself, and then I'll eventually dispel. Everyone else has dispelled themselves, and then I can dispel our DK whenever my cooldown goes up, and the affix is dealt with very easily. Again, this is an annoying pull to cat weave on, as there's chainsaws in melee, and cats are actually weak to chainsaws. I would highly recommend not trying that. So this boss is a twins boss. It's a pretty standard twins boss, and you die at the same time. A couple of things here. Whenever you're a healer and you have this affix with this boss, it is incredibly important that you do not use your dispel to get rid of the affix if it is poorly timed. So if you're not confident in the timing of that, just don't use your dispel on the affix. So that's a great time for popping healing cooldowns to heal through it. For everyone who has any kind of assistance, like if you're a Shadow Priest or a Shaman, maybe make sure you save your mass removal of the affix for this specific dungeon. Or for example, our priest can actually dispel 2 people. And the reason for that is there's going to be a magic debuff that goes out during this. And if you have your dispel on cooldown, it can be very problematic. So the twins basically do 2 things. Kick Fuse, he's going to be standing still and then jumping around. He's going to place some bombs around the arena, and then he's going to apply a debuff to a single player. You can actually see that from the cast bar. So I'm going to be trying to call it out as quickly as I see it, and then you can actually pre-move for the dispel, which is nice, as both the dot and the dispel do a significant amount of damage, as well as knock up in an AoE. And that dispel will destroy any of the bombs that are within the circle around you. And so after the dispel, there's going to be 3 charges from Bront. The first 2 are going to target a random player, and the third one is going to target the tank every single time. He will also destroy any bombs that he charges through. Following that, there's going to be a second dispel from Quick Fuse. It's again going to target a random non-tank player. If there's any bombs left, you want to preemptively move into those bombs to get them dispelled. But hopefully,
Tree is now following.
Did a good job with the charges. You shouldn't have any bombs left, but it is still a good failsafe. And then lastly, if you have to, you can pop defensives and heal through 1 bomb going off relatively easily, even up to extremely high keys. That's something that you can handle, but it is something that's not recommended. Other than that, the tank is going to try to kite Bront towards where Kick Fuse is to allow for a single target cleave as best as possible. There's also random damage going out and a frontal that has to be dodged. The random damage is not going to target the same player twice though. So that's kind of not a problem. So Quick Fuse is targeting Chiron, so Chiron's going to preemptively move, and then he's getting dispelled to get 3 of them out. We now have a charge going out on Suma. He's going to be able to hit at least 2 of these bombs here. The last one's going on me, so I should be able to get these last 2 bombs. And there's no bombs left now. Dodge the circles. But now we just have to worry about. It's a good time for the dispel. Mass dispel goes out from our priest. More bombs going down, following. Knock up on Pancake Mixer. He's going to preemptively move, and I dispel it. Charge on our priest, who's moving. Again, you need to move out of the charge after that. Charge on me. Going to try to get 2 here if I can. Was unable to, but our tank should be able to get the last 2.
You got it.
Oh, I did? Okay. Now we have dispel on Chiron. Just immediately dispel them. Again, the dispel does damage, and the ability itself does damage. Just make sure that you're dispelling immediately. So now we kind of don't have to worry about that. We're going to kill the bosses before the bombs explode. So what that means is that I can just kind of immediately dispel, and we don't have to worry about the bombs. This one's very clean. You do still have to avoid the charges, but there's also an enrage whenever they're not killed at the same time. If you have to kill one of them, kill quick fuse first, as Bront just kind of does a tank buster. You can use your externals and all of that. So there's another set of stockpiles after we pilfered. There's also a shot that is going to remove the circles, the red circles that were roaming around there. That makes it easier to traverse the water. So once you do both of those, we run back over to this side. Now, obviously we have Lust up because I'm taking time to explain things, but generally speaking, Lust would be close to coming up around this time. This next pull, pretty difficult to do without a Death Knight, as the ads don't like to stack. However, it is still doable. You can again take it in 2 pulls if you want to. We do have some new mobs here that we're going to be seeing throughout the rest of the dungeon. One of them is snipers. The snipers do random targeted damage, just has to be healed through. They also have a cast that can be interrupted. It's a fairly low priority interrupt. It's something you should interrupt if you can. However, it's not the end of the world if it gets off. In addition, there's these Dark Fuse Demolitionists. And what they're going to do is they're going to shoot up in the air and do a whole bunch of red circles on the ground that have to be moved out of. And then they're going to be casting a long cast on the reload. Now, you can interrupt those reloads
Scope is just
only with
subscribed.
Stuns. And if you chain them right, you should actually only get 1 pass of the red circles, making it easier for your melee DPS to not have to move. In addition to that, there's going to be inspectors that are going to basically teleport behind people and do a frontal. That frontal they can be stunned out of, or you can just move out of it. But that's pretty much it for this pull. So whenever you're ready, Kudo will go ahead and do that. So Kudo's also pulling some hyenas in this pull. You're seeing the RPGG going out right now, and some cast going out as well. Again, it's nice. They're nice to be interrupted, but none of these are absolutely wipe the group interrupt. You'll see the cast going out, so you'll see the reload on the demolition specialist. I'm gonna go ahead and stun these.
Watch your
fat finger, but someone else got it. So now the RPGG went out again after they reloaded. You can see this reload. Someone else stunned it. You can see the inspector. You can just move out of it. It's a pretty long cast. This is actually, despite being a large amount of mobs, this is a not very scary pull. It's pretty much all avoidable damage. Okay, so yeah, this is just another pull for out. This has more demolitions specialist on it. Again, after the first RPGG, you can do a stun chain to get them.
Watch your step.
Again, just move out of the circles. You know, standard WoW things at this point. There's the debuff going out. We have a mass dispel from our healer, but you also saw me dispel myself as well. I went ahead and stunned them at the end of their reload cast. I'm gonna do it again here. Just again, preventing them from getting the reload cast. They don't cast the RPGG, and you can just like have an easy time. Whenever you're stunning them, you obviously want to do it at the end of the cast. Big Mama is the first boss, but it's the second boss in most standard routes here. She is kind of a rinse and repeat boss, but one of the things that she does is she kind of scales very hard. So as you go up in keys, her difficulty goes up more than most bosses. So she has 4 mecha drones that you can see with her. The mecha drones are going to be casting 2 abilities. One of them is just a circle targeted, like dash on the ground. Everyone has to move out of that. And the second is a cast has to be interrupted. It's relatively easy to interrupt all the casts. We have a prop paladin who can probably do it by himself, but just be on the lookout for any casts that are going out. Oftentimes, and something we're going to demonstrate, is you're going to actually see people pull additional mobs onto this boss. The reason for that is that the significant healing that goes out is only during the intermission phase after we've killed all of our mecha choppers. And so all you have to do is, and then the mobs are pulled in are also only doing tank damage. So because of that, it's a good time to pull in extra mobs. There's also certain DPS classes like Arcane Mage and Havoc Demon Hunter, which get funnel damage, meaning they do more damage to a single target, the more ads that are there. So that's a consideration, but the real consideration is just efficiency as far as pulling mobs. Whenever she goes to intermission, it lasts for 12 seconds. It does significant AoE damage to everyone in the group. So that's something we need to commit healing cooldowns to that, and group defensive. So we're going to be committing AMC to the first one. And then after that, she's going to spawn lightning on the ground that has to be moved out of, and it's just a rinse and repeat. I doubt we're going to get multiple phases because it's an 11. We have some very high quality DPS. Also have to avoid the circle there. I did not mention that. We have a fix going out, getting mass dispelled. Again, you're not going to have mass dispel for every affix. So here's the circle targeted on me. Just have to dodge the circle. I just like give myself lots of space to do it. We're about to have the damage phase as these mecha drums die. As a druid here, I want to be preemptively hotting people so I can heal through it. We have the AMZ going out. As you can see, even on an 11, it is a significant amount of damage, and it does last for 12 seconds, so quite some time.
Kill began.
Kudo has pulled more soldiers in. Again, just making sure I don't take the Sonic Room into other people, and then dodge my way out of it.
Overcome this trial.
So we have the fix going out. We're not going to have mass dispel for this, so we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, just dispelling people, and then everyone else handles himself. Don't run to the circle like me there. So what happened there with Pancake is he actually took the circle for a bit. You want to make sure you're sidestepping it. You can see we've gone through 2 cycles. Even with Lust, we should have enough damage to kill Big Mama, so we can kind of just ignore the ads. We still have to interrupt them and dodge them, but we can just focus down Big Mama.
Hey, so we lost a little bit of audio here, but Shadar is going to tell us about Blood Bolt, which is an ability that is cast by some of the next trash packs that is extremely high damage.
If you have a warrior tank, it's actually great to spell reflect, as it does one of the highest damage spell reflects in the game. We don't have a warrior, so we're just going to be interrupting it. In addition to that, there's going to be circles we have to dodge up here, but the Blood Warper is going to do a thing called Warp Blood, which does a ton of AoE damage and applies a healing absorb to the entire group. This is a good time to pop a bunch of healing cooldowns, and you, generally speaking, only are going to have to deal, or should only have to deal with 2 instances of Warp Blood. I'll probably only have to deal with 1 because of the DPS that we have, but generally speaking, you want to make sure you budget your cooldowns to handle 2 Warp Bloods. And as a Resto Druid specifically, as I'm kind of a ramp healer and have to get these hots out, it's the first Warp Blood is the one that's very important for me to have a cooldown budgeted for. And obviously I have all my cooldowns up because we're taking time to explain, but maybe at the end of Big Mama, you don't spend healing cooldowns if you don't have to in order to make it easier on yourself. And so here I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively throw some hots out, throw down my healing. This is the time when I am not worried about cat weaving at all. Just gonna be here to heal as fast as possible. Our priest did stand in a circle there, which has happened. As you can see, even while pressing a cooldown, there's a ton of damage going out. You're gonna actually get some cat weaving because I have time, and then get ready for the next Warp Blood, which is gonna be casting now. Make sure I move out of this. Again, this is a time whenever you don't have to press your dispels, because I'm gonna have to heal you through it anyway. As Resto Druid, since like the fight was going and I had hots going, I didn't really need a cooldown for the second one, but again, you saw me pop a healing cooldown for the first one, and I pressed Convoke the Spirits. So the reasoning for that, if you're playing a healer that's not Resto Druid, make sure you have a healing cooldown budgeted for each of them. Here, we just have more divers that are going to get pulled. Again, same thing. They have circles. They have bombs they drop that you don't want to run into. This is a smaller pull than we normally do, but I want to demonstrate just like you can see the divers are never 2 of them are not going to cast at the same time. It's like 1 person can interrupt it.
Watch your step.
And we'll explain the kelp after this.
Interrupt.
Again, just one diver casting at any time. They're never going to sync their cast. Those are the bombs. Again, they explode. They do a ton of damage. And to explain the kelps here real quick. So the kelps have 2 casts. The first is a cast that can be interrupted by a kick. So like my Skull Bash or any of our people's kicks. That's what you should be using kicks on. And you should not be using stuns on it. The caster they're going to be casting basically puts a healing over time on them. That can be dispelled off by a priest mass dispel, like a purge from a shaman. It can be spell stolen by mages, but generally speaking, it just needs to be interrupts. The other thing that they're going to do is they're going to channel ability, which I'm going to get the name for you real quick. They're going to channel ability called Jettison Kelp, and that ability is going to do a bunch of AoE damage. Generally speaking, I think the way to handle that is your healer is going to be press healing cooldowns, but once 2 of the kelps are doing Jettison Kelp, that's when it's a good time to drop an AoE stun to interrupt them from that cast. And that's why it's important to not use your stuns on their first cast, which is the Restorative Algae, because you want to make sure that you're not stun DRing them, that you have stuns for the Jettison Kelp. You can handle all of the kelp at the same time, and even the kelp with the divers and hierarchies. But if you're not super confident, you can pull them into separate groups as well. As you're seeing the Jettison Kelps going off, I'm going to interrupt one of them. Their normal cast, we see multiple Jettison Kelps going off, drop an AoE stun there with my Savage Roar. Thanks. Once you trigger this RP, it will spawn Swamp Face, but first Bubbles comes out. Now, as a healer who was tormented by Bubbles last season, I like to laugh at Bubbles, but that's just because he was miserable. So Swamp Face is a boss, which again is, I think it's a bit of a pug killer, but understanding how it works makes it much easier. He kind of only has 3 abilities. Well, he has the Tank Buster. The tank has to deal with the Tank Buster. It does absolutely do a ton of damage. Make sure you have a defensor for that. The way that the rotation of abilities works is the first thing he's going to do is cast the Tank Buster. The second is he's going to cast a Razor Choke Vines, which you need to be stacked for. It's going to prioritize non-healers, which means the tank and the DPSs are going to be linked in pairs. The pairs are random. If they move too far, they're going to be pulled together. And it also does a stacking dot. So there's actually, as a healer, most of the damage goes on the DPS here. And as a druid healer, you're actually going to see me handle that by I'm going to put my life blooms on 2 DPS players. And then in this case, our squishiest 2 DPS players, which is the not Death Knight of the group. And from there, just so you have to give significant healing to them. He then does a frontal, which has to be moved out of. And then he does an AoE called Awaken the Swamp. It does a ton of damage and also sends these water frontals that have to be dodged. And those frontals, so you have to like work with your person to dodge them together, the person that you're linked to. As a healer, you can actually kind of stand out in the middle of nowhere if you want to. I prefer to just stand with my group because I want to heal everyone with efflorescence. It depends on the class on where you want to stand, but you can actually bait the frontal and make it slightly easier on your DPS if you do that. The big thing is just dodging the frontals, having defensives and healing cooldowns ready for the big damage phase. But we're just going to go ahead and demonstrate that.
Stack.
So going to go ahead and start applying my bleeds, get my combo points up,
Line. Gather.
and then apply bleed, and then
Watch
get
your
ready
step.
to heal the people who have been linked up. Again, most of the damage is going to be going out onto
Watch your
our
step.
DPS. So as a healer, again, I get to dodge them on my own, which is nice. They have to dodge together. Just
Stack.
dodge the circle as best as possible. The generally expected rule of thumb is just to rotate together in a
Line.
group.
Gather.
In our case, we're rotating left.
Watch your step.
Ready to heal my DPS as much as possible.
Watch your step.
Again, just to rinse and repeat, you can pop healing cooldowns during this time. You can also pop defensives during the big AoE and dodge the circles.
Stack.
Here we have the debuff going
Line.
out. Again,
Gather.
none of them need to dispel, as
Watch your step.
I'm going to have to do enough healing to heal it off naturally.
Watch your step.
It's like reapplying my dots before the big damage phase and heal through it again. Again, just
Stack.
dodging the circles. Again, want to work together with your partner to dodge the circles.
Line. Gather. Watch your
If you are a
step.
DPS or a tank,
Watch your step.
I'm going to go ahead and pop a healing cooldown there, as there were close circles that I had to dodge, and I wanted to be able to move on. Another fix going out.
Line. Gather.
The boss is going to die, but again, I'm just going to be healing through this naturally in order to keep up with the healing. So Swamp Face, again, I think, especially at the beginning of last season, it was a huge killer. Once you get confident with it, it really is just kind of a structured dance, and the healing is not that ridiculous. So one of the final new mobs that we have 2 final new mobs down here that we're going to have to deal with. The first is a venture company electrician. They have a cast that has to be interrupted, but they actually have a debuff as well called Overcharge. And what that does is it puts an 11-second debuff that does damage on a random player. That needs to be dispelled. If it's not dispelled, it will stun them. One of the only downsides to Death Knights is that this is actually an upside, but it's a downside in exactly this instance, is that they have reduced debuff duration. That actually applies to the debuff that's going out, so you have less time to dispel it off of them. You only have 7 seconds as opposed to 11, and that also can make it more difficult. There's also a tank debuff that goes out from the Dark Fuse soldiers. The big thing is you don't want to be dispelling that tank debuff, and you'll see it on my unit frames on our Paladin. I don't want to be dispelling that tank debuff until all the electricians are killed, so that no one gets stunned by the dot that goes out. Other than that, there's also these jump starters. We're going to try to not pull this sleeping jump starter that you can see on my screen right there, as he's not required for the route. We are going to have to pull them later, but they just do AoE damage and have they do a lot of AoE damage, and they put circles on the ground that have to be moved out of. We're going to go ahead and pull all the way up to the boss so you can demonstrate like with not having all of our cooldowns, but it's just going to be a whole bunch of mobs that I've just mentioned and mobs that we've dealt with previously. Here's the electrician. I'm going to go ahead and kick the first cast of this electrician. There we cast.
Frontal.
And you can see the debuff on my paladin. I'm making sure to not dispel that. The hunter got the debuff. Go ahead and immediately dispel that. We have another electrician that got pulled into the pool. There's 2 electricians in this pool, generally speaking. So once that electrician dies, I can debuff on my priest, dispel my priest.
Frontal.
Once that's gone, I can go ahead and dispel my tank. But until then, you kind of don't want to do that. So now the last electrician died. Go ahead and dispel the tank so he doesn't take more damage. Makes it easier.
Frontal.
Just walk by this guy. He's sleeping. He has a very low aggro range. These guys as well, they can be Mind Soothe. They don't have to be Mind Soothe. Kudo, real quick, I want to show the skip with Soothe. So just pull these into the other ones, and then we'll show the skip and pull them anyway, basically.
Resist.
So we're not going to pull this jump starter. We are going to pull it, but I want to show you guys how to skip it real quick. So here, go ahead and immediately dispel myself from this debuff, and then everyone else can dispel themselves, and then I can just put HOTS on my DK, and he's going to be fine. Alternatively, I can just wait the 8 seconds to dispel. Again, there's a tank debuff here. It's not that important to dispel it. And I would also, generally speaking, recommend pulling this group with the next group for routing purposes. We're not doing it because I want to demonstrate something real quick. Chiron is going to Mind Soothe these guys, and then we're going to be able to run by them. But the way you have to run by them is a little bit awkward. If you're a priest, it's very easy, but for a not priest, you kind of have to jump on these boxes and then run by, or you fail it like I did. Again, it's not like a requirement. I wanted to demonstrate it, messed up. We hadn't had a mistake yet, so that's on me. Again, just more things have to be interrupted here, as well as the AoE damage that goes out. You can see the circles, you can see the debuff going out to dispel. Again, same thing, just 2 electricians. As long as you're on top of the dispels, you're not going to get behind, and no one will get stunned. If you aren't on top of the dispels and let multiple of them get cast, then that's whenever it starts to become a problem. So what I did wrong there is I did not hug this wall as tight as possible, and so then I pulled them. So that's on me. That's my priest background showing where I can just press fade and not have that issue. So this pull is a very difficult healing check pull. Just 2 jump starters. Again, just move out of the circles and pump out as much healing as possible. It's nice to mark one here, like you've seen, as just allows the DPS to focus something, and once one dies, it's much easier. And so what I generally like to do as the healer here is once one of them dies, I will run into this room and start the RP. Not super valuable, but does save you a few seconds. And whenever he makes his great line about the power that he requires, you know the RP is started, you can just move back here and heal them more. I would not recommend doing that until you're comfortable, and also you should probably wait until one of them is dead. It's still something good to start. As DPS, you can also start it, especially if you're a very mobile DPS. This boss is usually the 3rd lust of the dungeon, and we are going to be lusting here. He has a significant AoE damage phase, and then he has a tank buster, and then he has a 2 targeted damage phase. But the 2 targeted damage can actually be immuned in several ways. We actually have 3 ways to immune it here. We have Blessing of Spell Warding from our Paladin tank, we have Aspect of the Turtle from our Hunter, and we have Anti-Magic Shell from our DK. For whatever reason, they work in different ways. AMS just prevents the damage and the dot from going on. Aspect of the Turtle also prevents the damage and the dot from going on. However, if the hunter is targeted first among the 2 people targeted, for whatever reason, that doesn't target the second person. So hopefully our hunter will get targeted first, he can turtle, and then will see 0 debuffs going out, which would be a cool thing to demonstrate, but Gigzack does have to cooperate to do that. Other than that, so it's 2 target healing whenever you don't have any way to immune it or it's on cooldown, but it does target 2 different people every time in a cycle, 2 people being not tank. First people to get targeted are not going to get targeted in the second phase. In addition to that, there's going to be circles you have to dodge and water circles on the ground. You want to make sure you don't send the lightning into the water, because there's another mechanic where every single person is going to get a lightning dot on them that's going to chase them. You want to kite that lightning dot into a water circle, and that is pretty much all you have to do for the fight, and it's just a rinse and repeat. But you want to kite it into a water circle that is not currently electrified, and the other targeted lightning can electrify water, so you want to make sure you're not in lightning with that, and making sure you're not stacking the dots as well. So hopefully we're going to get the first target's just going to go on our hunter, and it'll be very easy to demonstrate. And again, this is a significant healing fight, but it is very structured, so you want to have healing cooldowns for these big AoE happening. Make sure no one gets low. Dodge the lines. Pretty same thing. As you saw, without a mass dispel, I immediately dispelled all of them because there's significant healing going out, so I just had to go and they were just immediately dispelled. There's the tank buster going out.
Defensive.
And downtime. It's going on me. So I pop the defensive, but our hunter turtles it, and as you saw, I did not even get the dot at all. Great, it actually worked this time, and the boss cooperated.
Kite spark to water.
So a really cool trick there if you're a hunter. If you get targeted first, you get that. You see the dot that's on me. Just go ahead and kite it to a circle. You cannot both use the same water. And if you stand in the water that's electrified, you get stunned and take a significant amount of damage. There's the tank buster, Suma AMS. So you'll notice our DK didn't get the dot. He AMS'd, got out of it, and our being a priest is taking a ton.
Stay away from line.
Again, just having healing cooldowns for this phase is nice. As a druid, I can have convoke the spirits up for every single one. And other than that, it's just a rinse and repeat. It's going to be a little bit harder this time, as I'm not going to be able to have my hunter turtle it off this time. A good time for me to press the defensive. And then our DK also didn't have AMS up, so both of us are going to need to be healed. But as long as you're ready
Kite
for it, it's
spark
not
to
that big of
water.
a deal.
Neverbob13
So,
is now
since
following.
the DK and myself got the debuff on this next debuff, I know that's going to be the hunter and the priest. So I'm actually going to preemptively hot them here.
Defensive.
And so you'll see they're going to both kind of just like be healed up without me doing anything. So again, you know, if you're a
AoE
priest, you can power
incoming.
with shield. If you're
Stay
ready
away
for,
from lines.
if you're ready for it, you can be ready, and you're going to know based on who got it the previous time, who's going to get it the next time. And that's it for Floodgate.
Hey, if you guys like that, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll bring more videos like this every week.